Kurt Vonnegut's a great author because of his voice. It's unmistakable, it's original. He can make you laugh, make you think, and then punch you in the gut.
The black comedy and wild imagination of Kurt Vonnegut Jr. made him one of the most well-loved writers of all time.
He was deceptively simple. He wrote in popular forms, he wrote in accessible language, he wrote with humor, yet he was telling a very serious story underneath.
On November 11, 1922, Kurt Vonnegut Jr. was born in Indianapolis, Indiana. After attending Cornell University, he joined the Army during World War II.
Vonnegut was taken prisoner during the Battle of the Bulge, and he was held with other American prisoners in a slaughterhouse in Dresden, which had very deep chambers where they were allowed to survive the firebombing of the city. And I think he kept that memory very close to him and tried to work it into his fiction over the years.
Following the war, Vonnegut married his childhood sweetheart and became a writer to support his family.
He was a magazine writer. Magazines were publishing less and less fiction, so Kurt began sort of being a one-off paperback writer, in the sense that someone would buy an idea and he'd deliver a book on that subject. It did something really good for him, though, as a writer. It forced him to focus, it forced him to take risks.
With the release of Player Piano in 1952 and the Hugo Award-winning novel The Sirens of Titan in 1959, Vonnegut was labeled a science fiction writer.
Vonnegut's writing style stood out from a lot of his predecessors, in part because he started using science fiction and speculative fiction with his satire and his dark comedy. This was a period when science fiction was seen as this sort of pulpy or less than serious form of literature, and he really helped to bring recognition to the possibilities of science fiction.
In 1969, Vonnegut returned to Dresden, Germany in his best-selling novel Slaughterhouse-Five, ranked as the 18th greatest English novel of the 20th century by Modern Library.
Kurt Vonnegut was deeply affected by his time as a prisoner of war in Dresden, Germany. Slaughterhouse-Five is not a linear narrative, and sometimes it almost doesn't make sense. The character's traveling through time, and he's in outer space, then he's a prisoner of war.
Slaughterhouse-Five was one of those books that kind of came along at this perfect storm moment. You know, opposition to the Vietnam War was becoming an absolutely mainstream phenomenon, and the book was an anti-war book.
Vonnegut continued to write until his death on April 11, 2007, when he suffered a fatal fall at his home.
He's a cynic, he's a skeptic, he's a great storyteller, he's an iconoclast. I think what really is remarkable about him is that he sort of encompassed all of those things while being defined by none of them. He really kind of stands on his own.